Hashem, today's daf yomi is Avodah Zarah daf test. This is and today's daf is dedicated for Shemir for the Chayalim, Matzah for the Shvuyim, and the Yeshua for Am Yisrael. So Gemara is discussing a statement by Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yossi that the kingdom of Rome ruled over the Jewish people 180 years before the second temple was destroyed. So we're on the bottom line of Ches Amabeis, Meo Shmonim Vesulo. So the Rome only ruled 180 years, and that's it. Oh, before the temple was destroyed. Vatani Rabbi Yossi Omer, but didn't we learn that Rabbi Yossi said on the top of Tes Amud Aleph that it states Malchus Pras, the kingdom of Persia, which began before the second temple was built, Bifnei Abayis, Shloshim V'Arbam Shana. After the temple was built, it reigned for another 340 years. And then the Greek kingdom took over it, Malchus Yavan, Bifnei Abayis, Meo Shmonim Shana. And then the Greek kingdom existed 180 years. And then it became canceled out by the Hashmonayim. And the Hashmonayim continued on for Mea Ushloshim. Malchus Hashmonai Bifnei Abayis. The Hashmonayim kingdom continued in the presence of the second temple, 103 years. Mea V'Shalosh, 103 years. And then after that, Malchus Beis Hordis, the kingdom of Hordis, continued for Mea V'Shalosh, another 103 years. And then the temple was destroyed, and Hordis' kingdom was destroyed. Mikam v'elach, from that point on, from the time that Hordis was destroyed, then, and why do you need to know? Because let's say you want to write it in a document when it was done. Say the chashov kama shanim achar chorban habayis. Count how many years it was after chorban habayis. But anyway, we see from here, alma masan v'shishava. We see from here that from the time that the Roman kingdom began to rule until the destruction of the temple was 206 years, because the Romans and the Jewish people together defeated the Greeks. So the Hashmonayim was 103, and then Hordis was 103. The At-Amras Meo Shmonim Hava. You say it was 180, and it was really 206. So the Gemara says, Ela Esrim V'Shish Shanim Kamu Beim Nusa B'Hada Yisrael. So we see from here that for 26 years there was a partnership. And for that reason, Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yossi doesn't count that as 180 years, because 26 they were in partnership. He doesn't count it as those 26 years where the kingdom reigned over Israel, so therefore he only 180 years. Amar Rav Papa, so Rav Papa says, Kamahavi. He said, if the Tana who was teaching this brisa made a mistake, if he made a mistake and he doesn't know what year it is now, meaning to say, he knows how many years it was from the Chorban, but he knows the centuries, but he doesn't know the details, meaning to say how many specific number of years. So what should he do? He should ask the sofer who's writing the gittin or the contracts of sale, who typically writes when he does that, he typically writes the number of years from the Greek kingdom. And so he says, tell me exactly how you're writing. So once he has the number of years since the Greek kingdom, he should add on to that the number of years. He should add on to it 20 years. And he will then be able to find the total calculation. Because what will he do? Basically, he'll be able to figure out within the 180 years how many years it's been since the Chorban, because he knows that there were 180 years since the Greek kingdom disappeared, and then he'll add on 20 years, and he'll be able to figure it out. So basically, the Greeks were in the year 312 before the Common Era. That's when their kingdom stopped. And the Simanech, and the way to remember how many years you need to add, it says Zeli Esrim Shana Biveisecha. This is 20 years I'm in your household. So basically, when you add on 20 years, you'll find the number of years since the destruction of the temple. And Itai Safri, let's say a scribe will make a mistake and doesn't know what year it is now. The Shaila Tana Kamachashiv, he should ask the Atana basically how many years it is since the destruction of the temple. And deduct 20 years, and I'll find the exact number. The Simanech, and the way I'll remember is Safra B'tzira Tana Tosefa. The scribe writes the Torah basically by deducting letters based upon the tradition, and the Tana adds on. The Tana is always continuing to add letters. So basically, let's just explain this a little bit more according to Rashi. So let's say the scribe says that this is 620 years since the kingdom of Greece was destroyed. So then the Tana should add on 20 years, and then he'll know that this is the year 640 of that century, meaning to say it'll be the 40th year of that century. And also Rav Papa could say that he should deduct 80 years, and he would also be able to figure it out. So, okay. Anyway, the world existed the world is going to exist for 6,000 years. 2,000 years will be considered that the first 2,000 years the world was considered tohu because the Torah wasn't given. The next 2,000 years was Torah. And the next 2,000 years in the Moshe Mashiach is going to be the Messianic era. But now, since of our great sins, we've already gone in the last 2,000 years of Mashiach, and the Mashiach hasn't come, even as a result of our sins. So the Gemara says, Shnei alafim Torah me'emas. When did the 2,000 years of the Torah start? If you want to say it's from the time of the giving of the Torah till now, it can't be. It's not that many years. Because when we start counting from the Sinai until now, all you're going to get is Trei Alpha Prate Dai Alpha Hudavi. There's 2,000 years and additional years from the 3rd century, because the Torah was in the year 2,448. And so if that's the case, we don't have from the Matan Torah until the end of the 4,000. You only have 1,552 years, so you don't have 2,000. So it must be Ella from Abraham. From the time that Abraham starts proselytizing. Avram was 52 years when he started proselytizing, and Kama Batzrin Miditane. And how many years were missing from those 2,000 years that Tana mentioned? We're missing 448 years. But when you check from Torah, you're going to do the calculation, and you can do Rashi does all the calculations for us. You get 1,448 years. It works out perfect. Amar Papa Itana Itaitana Boyade Prate Kamehavi. The Tana who's studying the Brises has a question. He doesn't know how many years passed from the time of the Mashiach. He only knows which century it is. He doesn't know how many years it will be to the time of the Mashiach. He should ask the scribe how much he's writing in his contracts. He should add on 48. And that's how I'll figure it out. And the way to figure this out is there's 48 Levitical cities. And if it's the opposite, that the Sofer himself is not sure, he should ask the Tana how much is written. And he'll deduct 48 years. And then I'll have the whole figure out. And that way you remember it is inscribe the ducks in Tana Aaron. Amar Rav Yehuda Bereder Rav Yeshua, Imad Hoyade Kamei Shanim B'Shvu Homemade. A person doesn't know what year of the sabbatical it is. Nitve Chad Shata. He should add on 1 year to the number of years of the destruction of the second temple. So since the number of years of destruction in the temple began from the second year of the sabbatical year, and you need to figure that out. So therefore, you add on 1 year, and that's how you'll know when it's the years of the sabbatical. So and after he adds on this year, he'll be able to count the every 100 years as though it's 2 yovos, and then he'll deduct those from the calculation. Uparati b'shvua, and if he has extra years, which is less than 100, he'll have to figure out how many complete sabbatical years there are, and he'll deduct all those years from the calculation. And that way he'll have just a number of years of the sabbatical. He has to deduct 2 years from every century. And so because the 2 years come from the Jubilee year, because the Jubilee year is 50 years, but we count each end of the Jubilee year as the first year of the next cycle. And that's how I'll know how many years are in the sabbatical year. And the way to remember this is because there was 2-year famine in the land. After 400 years of the destruction of the temple, if it's after 400 years after the destruction of the second temple, if a person will say to you, take this field which is worth 1,000 dinars and only pay me 1 dinar. Don't take this field, because that's when the exile is going to end, and it'll return to its true owners. And why would you even lose 1 dinar? After 4,231 years of the creation of the world, if a person will say, take this field, don't take it, because it's going to be the Messiah. Don't do a bad investment. The distinction between the 2 explanations is 3 years. The Masnisa Tafya Tlashan, because the Braitha adds on 3 years about the time that Rabbi Hanina said. Okay, this is the Daf Yomi for Friday, and Baruch Hashem, try to do it in person also. See if we have the time to do it in person tomorrow. But this is the Daf Yomi for Friday. Everybody should have a good day. Shkoyach.
Thank you. Safe travel.